Let's get real about traveling.
Craving real advice? Tired of feeling like every other small business owner or solopreneur is raking in the dough while you just seem to be raking? Secretly looking for a reminder that starting your own business is not as glamorous as others make it look. Whether you're looking to change the game in your relationships at home or at the workplace, you've come to the right place. My name is Ray. I went from corporate America to running my own small business to becoming a solopreneur. I'm a professional actor and, dare we say, a professional busybody. Because this body is about to be busy all up in your biz. So let's get real.
Oh, traveling. Okay. So, like, in my mind, it just seems glamorous to travel. Like, if your job involves travel, that just seems so cool. I guess it's partly because traveling also kind of seems like something one could only do if they had money, in my mind, right? I mean, yes, you can totally travel and be completely broke, and back in the day you could hitchhike a ride, and I guess you can still hitchhike a ride. It's just a lot harder for people to actually want to pick you up. And then you might like find some scrambled pull together somebody. You got $100, you can get a super cheap flight, you make it to this other place, and these other people have a boat. They say, hey, come hang out with us on our boat for a day, and like just life just whoop, just it's a movie. My life is not a movie. No, my life is pretty weird. But yeah, I just travel just seems like something super glamorous. And so I moved partly with the intention of like stopping one of my businesses. And I said to myself, I'm only going to go and like finish up these last few contracts. And then that wound up being, okay, well, I'll take some more work because doing these last few contracts, this is not going to be enough to pay for the actual trips. And then the next year, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Well, actually, I really like doing it, so I'm going to give it a go. And then here we are. I don't know. I think this is my 4th year of the travel. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's my 4th or 5th. I don't freaking know anymore. But I think it's my 4th. Does it matter? Does it never between 4 and 5? Does it really matter? It's not like 4 and 50. But anyhow, point being, I decided, okay, you know what? I am going to give it a go, and the stars align so that this year things are just much better than the previous years. So one year there were like really, I just didn't want to get on a plane, with COVID and everything. And then another year, the gas prices were really high. So that just meant driving was super costly. And then I moved again. And so the drive became further and made me want to lose my mind. And I now have decided, okay, air flights are low enough where I can do this trip, and if I, get X amount of work, then everything is going to work out. So anyway, why did I get 3 hours and 45 minutes worth of sleep? Because I said, I gotta be smart about this. Like, I can't really afford, to have flights, not happen. And this weekend, I have a number of clients lined up, and I'm really looking forward to this trip. And I look at the weather report, and there are potential thunderstorms. And we're in summer, so it's kind of like, what? Thunderstorms? What? That's not what I expected. And so I said, okay, you know what? I was talking to my mom about it, and I could tell she started looking stressed out as I was talking about it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be so stressed out if this flight gets canceled. Then I'm going to have to call my clients and be like, oh my gosh, can you do later? Can you do next day? It's just this whole big, really annoying thing. So why don't I be proactive and go ahead, book a extra hotel night and fly standby for the earlier flight, leave the day before. Mentally, I'm not ready to do this, but I gotta do it. I don't want to have that stress the day of. So I got off the phone with my mom. I booked that hotel. And I went to the airport this morning. I could have gone to bed earlier last night, but I just did not want to. I was like, I don't want to go to bed. I'm not 5 years old. I don't want to go to bed this early. So I did not go to bed at the time I should have gone to bed. And yeah, I went to bed like almost 11 or something. Yeah, I went to bed a little bit before 11. And then I had to be up at 2:45. 2:45. Did I do the math right? Yeah, okay. So, quick shower. My bag was already packed. Get in the car. Drove almost 90 minutes to the airport. And then there's a shuttle bus from the parking lot to the airport. And I get to the ticket counter, and I can't put myself on standby because there's just 20, my boarding pass hasn't opened yet because it has to be 24 hours from the original flight. So I made sure I'm at that calendar to say, hey guys, can you put me on standby? Because I know no one else is on this flight. This is like a business flight. It's super empty. It's always empty on that flight. Always, always is. I look forward to sleeping on the flight since my very relaxed attire. And so the agent says, well, the ticket you purchased doesn't allow any changes. I can't do it. You're going to have to call reservations. Now, mind you, the flight leaves at 6 a.m. and it is now 5 a.m. And I tried this app for the airline and was on hold forever on the app. So it's now like 10 after 5. I was like almost 20 minutes on this app waiting for someone and no one picked up. So at 10 after 5, I'm speaking to like a human. And she says, you have to call reservations. So I call reservations and they're like, no, you have to go to the airport. I'm like, I'm at the airport. They told me to call you. And I keep getting this like, no. I am at the airport. They told me to call you. Oh, well, maybe you can like do it in the app. I'm like, doesn't work in the app unless it's 24 hours. It was so around and just, I'm like, wait a minute. I booked this so I wouldn't be stressed out. And yet you guys stress me out. You're annoying me. And while I'm dealing with these shenanigans, I check my app and the weather forecast has changed. And it now looks like, okay, I can fly on the original date and rain's not going to happen till later in the day. So that is what I am hoping and praying for. But I can't get back my money on the hotel, right? And as I was sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, I'm at the airport. I could just pay extra money to like cancel tomorrow's flight, pay more money to get a flight today. And I was, wait a minute. I'm going to be putting out a lot of extra money, which is going to cause more stress because I actually have to figure out how I'm going to pay for all this stuff, right? And there's a little buffer in the budget in order to allow for emergencies. But the whole ordeal was making me go, well, gosh, I have to have a bigger buffer. And so when I look at traveling for work, okay, as someone who's self-employed, right? If you're traveling for work and your employer's paying for it, then that's just a whole other thing. But when you are self-employed, or maybe you're a YouTuber, freelance, creative, whatever, right? When you are in charge of the money, you need to make sure that you are pricing yourself in a way that allows for low emergencies. And I'm already at the top of the amount people are kind of willing to pay for my service. Anything higher would kind of put me in a category of, well, you must be elite and you're going to get far fewer clients than you already do. But the clients that you get are going to be looking to spend big money and they're going to want big results, right? Now, whether or not the person who's willing to spend big money is looking for my type of service, it's a smaller field, right? So hear me out, right? When you go to a restaurant, you got your fast food, right? But you've also got your diners, and then you've got your Denny's and stuff like that. So you've got your diners and your Denny's. If you want to step up from the diner, maybe you go to like a Denny's or a Red Robin. It's a small step up, but it's a step up, okay? And then you want to step up from that, you're going to go to a restaurant. I don't know, like what, a restaurant, a casual restaurant. You don't have to have a suit and tie or anything like that. And then if you want the creme de la creme, the bestest, then you're going to pay the $200 to $500 a head, right? Restaurant, maybe you're paying anywhere from 25 to 50 for an entree. Maybe you're paying 50 to 75 for an entree. But there's a jump from like 75 to all of a sudden $200 to $500 for your meal. And if you're paying $200 to $500 for your meal, you expect certain things. You expect everyone in the room to be dressed nicely. No one sitting there in flip-flops and shorts. You expect for your meal to blow your mind, to taste like this is not something I could have made at home or done myself. You expect it to be a full-on experience and worth your time. And so I have to ask myself, to price myself more, to have that jump, to know that there's a much smaller percentage of people who are able to afford and willing to pay for that kind of deluxe luxury experience. Would they taste what I have to offer and so, wow, that was mind-blowing? I am so glad I spent that money because I could not get that anywhere else. And that's the dilemma. The way I offer what I offer is good, but I don't think there's anything about it that's super mind-blowing, and that's not my intent. So there just comes this thing of, well, how do you cover costs when you don't expect to blow people's minds? And that is the dilemma. Oh. And this is not the first time that I have traveled for one of my businesses. I had another business where I would travel around, work with different clients in home, and I really liked the work. And I remember chatting with friends, and I remember one of my friends saying, oh, that's so wonderful, and it's so great because they'll pay for the hotel and your flight. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, I mean, I didn't say anything, but I'm sitting there thinking like, not making enough money where they're paying for my hotel and flight all on one gig, like one job. Now, I took this class at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. And this was a business class, business pricing. And I remember learning how to price a product. Yeah. So when you have a product, you want to work out how much do the materials cost you? Like just the bottom line, how much do materials cost you in order to make this product? And then once you figure out how much materials cost you to make the product, you also want to look at how much time it took you to make that product. Now you've got your time and you've got the cost of the product. And how much is your time worth? And then you want to have a little bit of a buffer on top of that. And that's what you're going to, if there's any taxes that need to be applied as well, but that's how you're going to price your product, okay? So if it cost me $10 to make the product, and if I know that my time, I spent 2 hours making it, and I know that if I was doing some other job for working 2 hours, if I knew that, I could pay $10 an hour to do some other job. These are just basic numbers, guys. Then we are looking at, it took me 2 hours to make it. It cost $10 in materials. So we're looking at $30. Now I want to also have a little bit of a buffer. So maybe I'm charging $35. And then once you have, okay, this will be the sweet spot. The sweet spot is for this product to be able to pay at least, or charge at least $35 for it. But 40 would be better. Then you have to ask yourself, is what I made something that someone else is willing to pay $40 for? Would they pay $35 for it? Would they pay $30 for it? And then you also have to think of sales. And if I ever had to just kind of get rid of this quickly, what's the least amount of money I could take for this? Well, based on our calculations, wouldn't the least amount of money I could take for this be $30? That gives me back the cost of my time and the materials. But if you know that it's going to be a hard sell and people aren't really going to pay that amount of money, then how can I make either more products for less, or how can I spend less time making those products? Can I make a whole bunch at once? How do I make sure that I'm not expending all this energy and not being compensated for my time and not wind up having to pay out a lot of money later for those little emergencies? Because everything in life has little emergencies. Even if I was working for someone else, there might be a little emergency. I am sick today. I cannot go to work. Am I working at a job where they're going to pay me for a sick day? Or am I working at a job where they're not going to pay me a sick day? And if I'm working at a job where they do pay me for a sick day, how many sick days do I get? Like, what if my illness goes beyond what they said they were going to pay me for? How am I going to cover my living expenses for these extra days of being ill? And people face these issues all the time. You might be facing one of these issues, and if you are, I'm hearing you. So, look, I would love to be able to charge 2.5 times what I currently charge for my service. But again, and there's this thing where women, it's like women are always undervaluing themselves. And if you are thinking about charging that price, charge that price, do it. But realistically, you also have to look at who your target market is. Who are your customers? And when I raised my rates, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I had a lot of clients who were just like, ooh, well, potential clients because they didn't book. But I had a lot of people who were like, oh, wow, oh, that's more than we expected. So thanks, but no thanks. I got that a lot. And I said to myself, well, I guess I'm done with this business because no one wants to pay the rate. But I refused to lower the rate. And I refused to lower the rate because I said, I am good enough at this business where I'm okay if I get fewer customers. I'm okay with that. Because I know I'm certainly better than the person charging when I charged when I first started out. And I know that I am even more skilled than the person charging the market average. And I also know that if they choose to go to a big company or even a small company, there's a very good chance that overall they're going to be spending a lot more money because I get the job done faster. So I'm very secure on the pricing. I don't think I'm undervaluing myself. I just know what the market can bear. And that's part of doing business, is knowing what the market can bear. But that doesn't solve my dilemma of being able to not cry or have any moment of sadness when these little emergencies happen and I can't follow my original plan and I have to deviate from my little plan. And so that's where we get to being more strategic about how money is spent. So I already know that I should have X number of clients lined up in order to cover all expenses for the trip, right? We talked about time and products and all that stuff. So X number of clients lined up. And I know how much more I would like to make so that I would be able to enjoy myself on the trip in terms of, I'd like to have at least one nice meal. Right? Not every nice meal, but a decent meal. We're not talking the expensive restaurant, but I'm not eating fast food, right? Can I at least afford the diner? And if I see something that I want to, a nice shirt or something, can I get that, right? If you're going out on that business trip and you see something that you want to bring back to a family member, can you afford to get it? Right? I mean, yeah, maybe your employer's paying for the hotel and the flight and transportation, but any other fluff, that's on you. And calculating all that in, but then also have to calculate in more for emergencies. Like, what is the contingency plan? Because I already have to budget and set aside X amount for taxes. And golly gosh, I am just thinking okay, there's either you make more money per round, the person with their products, making more products within that 2-hour period, right? Have more clients within that travel session, or you charge more, which we said is not happening. Or option 3 is you figure out where can you cut down costs. So, the cheaper hotel room. And hey, if I can get from no hotel at all and just sleeping on a friend's couch, give them a few bucks, that would be amazing. But places are small, people are weird, and I don't have any friends like that where I'd be like, yeah, I just, when I come down, sleep on the couch, I wish I did. I used to be that friend. I used to be the friend who was like, oh, you're in town? If you want, you can come crash at my couch. It's not a problem. There was one place that I lived where, people would come and stay. And it was a really nice feeling. It felt like I was able to give back something to people in my life. And then I got married and no one wanted to come visit us. Like the 2 times, we had guests over 3 times. 2 to 3 times they came when my husband wasn't there. And the one time we had a couple over for a couple's dinner, they never came back. They never came back. And they said that they were going to invite us over, and they really wanted to make a nice meal and impress us because of our hospitality. But that never happened. And part of me wonders, did we scare them off because maybe they felt like, oh, well, they served this, we have to do just as good, but I don't know. Or maybe they're just like, they're weird. Or maybe they're just like, they're not a priority. You never know in New York because people get busy with all kinds of things and then 20 years go by and you're like, oh yeah, I really meant to. And you're like, oh, okay. So anyway, what was inspirational about this? Oh yeah. Getting less than 3 hours sleep is not a good idea. A friend of mine actually said, I'd rather just not sleep. And I did think of that. I definitely did think of that. But I also thought, oh, I don't want to be that person on the road who hasn't slept in over 24 hours. That sounds dangerous for me right now. Just knowing who I am right now. 10, 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, no problem. Woohoo, I do it. But I'm like, I'm old. Give me my cup of water and, a blinky. I don't know if any wanted a blinky at the same time. But any hootie how. What else may have been some guiding tips? Well, you definitely got some business tips up in here about pricing and planning for emergencies. But how about life tips? Well, plan for emergencies. Okay, when you go to the grocery store, make sure you at least once a month get an extra package of. If you see something on sale, like you're like, oh, dried beans on sale. I'm not sure that I think it's my old timey voice, but it does. So dried beans on sale. I'm gonna get these old timey beans, and then that goes in your little like emergency kit. And so there you have that in case of emergency because things didn't go according to plan, and you ate everything else, and you're gonna go to the grocery store, but there's down trees in the road, so you can't go to the grocery store. But thank goodness you have those old timey dried beans, so you can eat. Therefore, you won't starve. But also, life tip, make sure you have a little extra money so that when you are traveling like a rock star and feeling like you're super fabulous, you can go ahead and buy that t-shirt for your cousin's dog and you won't be like, oh my gosh, I needed that money to buy myself a $20 egg sandwich in New York City. And I just want to say to the restaurant selling $20 egg, bacon, cheese sandwiches, because I saw you and I immediately walked out. And I'm vegan, so I don't eat egg and cheese and bacon. But I wanted something else there that I thought was going to be, I didn't want your vegan stuff. So anyway, I didn't buy anything because I was very much offended by the fact that you were charging $20 for a bacon and cheese sandwich on brioche. But you should be ashamed of yourself. No one should pay $20 for ingredients that cost, what, $3? Will it cost you $3 to make that, bro? Come on. Now, you're probably back to pricing going and saying, well, Ray, actually, it may have, when you factor in the cost of the space that they're using, the cooking equipment, the staff, oh my, maybe $20 is still. And to you, sir, I say, phooey, they sell enough other goods where if you break down how much is actually going into that one sandwich, that still shouldn't cost $20. But they also know that there's a certain clientele where they can say $20 brioche, egg, bacon, and cheese. If you can afford it, it's yours. And there are people who will go and buy it because they know it's going to be delicious. They're expecting it to be delicious. Are they expecting it to be mind-blowing? I don't know about mind-blowing, but I do think they're expecting it to taste better than something you got at McDonald's, okay? And so they are totally fine paying for that sandwich, and they don't regret it. Now, do I change my skills so that I can be the $20 brioche, bacon, and cheese? Nah, I don't really want to. I could. I can go out and win some more awards and then say, oh, you're not just paying for my time and talent, you're paying for all the awards, the brand that is me. But I don't really want to do that because I'm going to put my energy elsewhere. So yeah, there's my life tip for you. Put your energy where you want your dollar. Put your energy to where you want them to spend $1. Huh? Maybe? I don't know. Okay, my friends, I hope you found this somewhat helpful. Until next time, I'm going to go sleep. Peace.
Thanks for listening. If you think this podcast would help a friend, then please feel free to share it with them. If you want to check out some more Real Ray or just see me hang out with cute dogs, then feel free to visit me over on YouTube. Get Real Ray 4273.